Conversations with me. I'm G, and here's another video for another. I was having a session with a client of mine, and something came up that I realized has not really been properly addressed, and it really goes very well with the other video I did about negative and positive energies. When we take the suppression off, the energy we have is allowed to express itself. And it always does good things. Energy is good by nature, right? When we're suppressing, we don't have access to a lot of our innate creativity and power. We don't have access to it because that energy, because we've labeled it negative, we've pushed it down. And so what happens is we have to take those qualities that we do have access to and work them to death. So we go from suppression to overwork. Now let me give you an example. Let's say that you are somebody who is very creative by nature, right? And you grew up in a family where you couldn't express that, so your creativity has been kind of tamped down. So in situations when you need to be creative, instead what you do is, let's say you were a good student. You were somebody who really knew how to learn, right? So instead of being creative and in the moment, you'll go to what you do know how to do and what you did have freedom and got praise for. You're probably good at school and your parents said, gee, what a great kid you are, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to start learning stuff. You're going to be acquiring knowledge. You're going to read a lot of books. You're going to take courses. You're going to get a bunch of certificates and stuff, right? To compensate for the fact that what you really need in this moment is just a brilliantly creative idea and you don't have access to it. Maybe you are very creative and you're allowed to be creative, right? But for whatever reason, the part of you that actually can organize is completely shut down. So your life is a total mess. You're nothing but creative ideas and never can accomplish anything, right? So if that's the case, the part of you that is actually can do stuff, can learn stuff, can follow go with the plan, balance their checkbook, and make life functional and safe is dysfunctional, and all you've got is creativity. So every time you come into a situation, that all it needs you to do is basically say yes, no, yes, and you've got some great new idea, right? I meet people like that all the time, enormously creative, and can't get anything done. Because every time they get to the point where we're doing something, the access to that energy has been shut down. So the point I'm trying to make with this is that whenever we shut down any energy, we have to compensate. We have to try to build a functional life. The problem most of us have is not that we don't have access to the energy, it's just that the energy we do have is totally overworked. And it's the wrong tool for the job. We're trying to take where we need creativity and plug in learning and mastery. Or we're trying to, where we just need to be, perfunctory and disciplined and come up with yet another creative idea. They don't work. That's why it's dysfunctional. The dysfunction in your life is not because you don't have the ability. It's because the abilities you have aren't being appropriately used at the appropriate place because you don't actually have access to the tool you need. That one's been suppressed, so you overwork the other ones. And they do get overworked. I can verify this. I remember at 39 years old, I had just a major collapse because a part of me that I had really relied on heavily, which is being able to speak spontaneously and be witty, just failed. I had just relied on it so much, I developed almost nothing else but creativity and the ability to communicate, that I was dysfunctional in every other aspect of my life. And eventually it got so overworked, it actually shut down. I just was like, I wasn't creative, I didn't have any new ideas, I was like kind of lost in the sauce. I eventually worked through that all. I eventually worked to the point where I could actually be functional on many different levels, and all the creativity and the gregariousness came back, obviously. But it did shut down because it just got so overworked, it got exhausted. Because that's all I had. I just beat that tool until it just wouldn't do anything anymore. So the long and short of this is that the opposite side of suppression is overworking. If you're going to suppress, you're going to have other parts of you overwork. If you suppress too much, you're going to be completely dysfunctional. You're going to be, living on the street or having to be in Section 8 housing or something because nothing is functioning, because none of the energy can get out. But for most of us, we're kind of walking lopsided. This leg's really strong, so it hops along. This one's weak, and I got to drag it along. This is how most of us are going through our lives. So just notice in your life the areas that are working and that are not working. And the ones that are not working, notice the way you're trying to make them work. Maybe what you really need is some of this energy that you thought was negative that has been suppressed. Maybe that's really what you need in this situation to make this work, and not more of what you already know how to do. Maybe it's time to actually kind of drop all that and be like a little kid and start playing and start discovering new energy that's available to you that is really needed in your life. This is G, conversationswithg.com. Check us out and see you on the show.